I spend a fair amount of my spare time building scale models. At this time, these models are injection molded styrene plastic. Well, occasionally they're vacuum formed styrene plastic with resin parts. They could be 3D printed plastic, but I haven't made one of those yet. My favorite subject is aircraft related subjects, but there are ships, armor, cars, animals, and an endless variety of scale model kits. I wonder where all this came from and why I do it. Long ago, when I was 7 or 8, there were no styrene plastic kits, but there were still scale model airplanes for young children and older children to build. Adults were known to be involved also. The model kits of that era were wood, or wood and tissue, or even paper. But this is just during my lifetime. Making scale models goes way back. The models I was building probably evolved from carving or sculpture. There were also models made using materials like clay or other moldable material. In the past, things were constructed by building a scale model first and then copying it for the real object. There are prehistoric sculptures that have been collected, so modeling must go back to the early human time. The first scale model I was involved in was the Stormbreaker B-29 kit. It was Stromberger's top of the line kit, and my father bought it for me when I was in the 3rd grade. We built it together, which translates to he built it and I thought I did. I was hooked and started building models right away. I built mostly wood airplane models, but there were also wood car models, ship models, train models, gun models, Old West wagon models, circus wagon models, etc. Here are some build-ups of kits of this era. The varnished wood kits are from my recent build videos. The painted kit somehow survived from my childhood. Operating train models were usually purchased fully built. However, the train enthusiasts built environments for the train to run in that could be considered a spectacularly large-scale model. The first models I built were solid wood models, but there was also sheet wood fabricated models and stick and tissue models and paper models. There was an additional form of scale modeling, which I don't think exists anymore, that consisted of latex rubber molds of characters or objects that you could fill with plaster of Paris and then peel the mold off, leaving behind the model of something. Whereas this type of modeling seems to have pretty much disappeared. If you build a resin model, you're basically building a model whose parts were produced in the same manner but with different materials. Injection molding plastic kits came into the market at about this time as I was growing older, and I built some, but I was totally unprepared to do so, as I didn't know how to properly assemble the kits. The wood glue I used on the kits melted them. Wood paints I used on the kits blistered the surface. When I bought plastic glue, I assumed more was better, once again melting the kits. While I used the enamel paint that came with the kits at the time, I didn't realize that it took days for the paint to dry and touch the kits, leaving big fingerprints. I was disappointed by the strange surface details of the kits. The kits often had the insignia and lettering actually molded into the kit. At this time in my life, I graduated from high school, went to college, graduated from college, went into the Army, finished my tour of active duty, and got a job with a major manufacturer of aircraft engines. I didn't have much time for building models. However, my full-time job was working as a test engineer for a major manufacturer of jet engines. Many of my coworkers sported a scale model of the aircraft their engine powered on their desk. I took this idea and built a plastic injection molded model for my desk. This proved to be fairly easy for the F-111 and the C-141 because they were commercially available kits. I changed companies and my new customers were working on classified projects for which there were no kits. As our customer base grew, many re-engined business jets were included. Plastic kit bashing was the answer to this. Jetstar's BA-125s, Falcon 20s, etc. I became a private pilot, which caused me to become interested in many light planes, and I modeled some of them. I was back in modeling for the rest of my life. Most of my videos relate to aircraft model kits. I thought in this video I would show some subjects that are commonly modeled, maybe a few that are not common. Armor and military equipment has become one of the more popular modeling subjects. When I was in the Army Corps of Engineers, My unit supported the 3rd Armored Division as our biggest customer. At that time, they were armed with the M48 Patton tank. As I was finishing my tour of active duty, they were supplying M60 tanks to replace the M48. Another very common subject is automobiles or cars. I, of course, built the 1939 Ford sedan that was our family car from 1939 to 1949. I also built a 1965 Mustang. That's my favorite car that I've owned. During my childhood, Revell marketed a series of cars called Highway Pioneer. They featured old-time cars that were obsolete and gone long before their young builders were born. Still, I built a Maxwell for my grandfather, who had actually owned a Maxwell. This got me building a lot more Highway Pioneers and plastic models. Models of trains seem to be quite rare in molded plastic. In my childhood, Strombecker built a lot of scale model trains made of wood. I built several ship models during my childhood, but they were all wood models made either by Strombecker or Monogram. Obviously, there are a lot of ship models now in styrene, but I haven't built one in a long time. Models of firearms exist both in wood and plastic. Plastic models of engines for aircraft are also available. There are, of course, a vast array of other subjects, but to reduce the length of the video, I'm going to pick dinosaurs. I just like dinosaurs. Most of my completed dinosaurs are reduced to living in potted plant jungles in the backyard. Since monsters might be another plastic kit category, I'll end the video with a prehistoric monster, dinosaur skeleton. If you like the video, please give me a like and consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.